Yo, 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 it's your boy Colin, aka Colin Trades CSP, back with you with another video. Last week was a very interesting week as we got NVIDIA's earnings, which then the day after we saw a complete sell-off of the stock, following into Friday when we had a continuation to the downside. The market then overall bounced towards the end of the close, which then coming Saturday morning, we had insane news regarding Iran bombing the U.S. bases in 4 different countries, which then the U.S. attacking and killing the supreme leader of Iran. So we had a lot of news come out in the past couple of days, and the markets reacted, but now trying to figure out, let's see what's going to happen this coming week, if there is anything that we need to keep an eye on when it comes to potential bounce areas if we do get a sell-off on Monday. As of right now, BTC is currently up after the news of the killing of the supreme leader, with a possible chance of a regime change in Iran, allowing the markets to figure out how they want to move forward going into this new month. But we'll basically go like we always do every single week. Let's go through the information, see exactly what we need to pay attention to. We are also towards the end of the earnings calendar as well, or earnings period. So we do have some last final stocks that we need to pay attention to when it comes to the overall market. And then let's take a look at the charts to see exactly how we want to play this coming week. And then towards the end, give you some 3 possible ideas on what I'm looking at for potential trade ideas. All right. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you have any questions or concerns, leave a comment. And if you like this video, just leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and just basically hit the bell notification for new videos that we're coming out with every single week. All right, so let's first start off. Let's see what we got when it comes to the news. So looking at the economic calendar for this week, really nothing looks to be going on until the second half of the week. As you know, starting Monday, ISM manufacturings, S&P final U.S. manufacturings and PMIs. Tuesday, we do have Fed John Williams speaking. Fed's basically, this looks like normal, just Fed speaking on Tuesday. Wednesday, we do got ADP employment rate, and then Fed Beige Book when it comes to monetary policies and seeing if the economy is strong or not. Come Thursday, initial jobless claims, U.S. productivity, import prices, and so forth. We do get a Fed speaker towards the second half of the day. And then Friday, the most important day, U.S. unemployment rate report. Basically, that's just the start of every month. They want to basically see the unemployment rate, see how the economy is doing, and U.S. hourly wages, making sure that we do not fall in any type of wage price spiral when it comes to that. So overall, when it comes to the news, there's nothing really that we need to pay attention to on that side, other than Friday when it comes to unemployment rate. But other than that, it just seems like another normal week in the market, getting ready for potentially a bigger week the following week when it comes to CPI. CPI next week is going to be the very key thing that we need to pay attention to, which we'll discuss in next week's video. So like I said, we're coming towards the end of the earnings calendar. So one thing to basically to keep an eye on, the 2 big names I'll be keeping an eye on is this coming week is going to be Target. They report Tuesday before the bell. They are a big consumer staple name, so that's something to pay attention to. And then Costco, another big staple that we need to pay attention to this coming week. So those are going to be the 2 stocks that will probably influence any type of major move in the market that could possibly make some moves. Other than that, I mean, you can have some notable names, JD, when it comes to the Chinese sector, CrowdStrike, Best Buy. These smaller names, you know, those are not going to move too much, but those will be something, basically notable names you need to pay attention to. Like I said, on basically what happened over the weekend, Starting with Friday night, Saturday morning time, Iran bombed U.S. bases in 4 different countries, which then a couple hours later, we were notified that the U.S. attacked and supposedly killed the supreme leader of Iran, which then you saw the initial reaction when Iran bombed the U.S. bases where the Bitcoin and cryptos crashed, which then after the confirmation of the basically the supreme leader that was dead, the market reacted to the upside, allowing Bitcoin to hit over 68,000. So that was the major headline, something that we need to pay attention to in this coming week, and just make sure that we just trade safe, because any type of retaliation from Iran with the new leaders could cause a serious issue long term, especially when it comes to the stock market. And hopefully this thing is done before it even gets started, type of thing. All right, so now looking at the charts, like I said, really the main thing that happened this past week when it comes to movement was the NVIDIA earnings. So the NVIDIA earnings came out Wednesday after the bell, which then we saw the stock market move up towards the earnings, which then the following day caused an insane dump to the downside. And then came Friday, we did continuation to the downside, but then we started to move back up to the upside. So looking at this weekly candle was literally absolutely nothing. The top side being touched, the bottom side being touched, and now we're just back in the middle. Same thing with NQ, top side being touched, bottom side being touched, and now we literally, the candle traded right back in the middle. So really, if you look at it as an overall standpoint and zooming out, we're basically trading in the midpoint of the whole entire range. So really nothing happened overall, no serious downside move, no serious upside move. We just basically continued to trade in the range. Zooming in a bit, if you do take a look at it, you know, if the market does react to the news from Iran and it starts to become 6 p.m. later on tonight, Sunday, when the futures open, if we do start to react and test the bottom of this range, this is something to keep an eye on to see if this holds. If this number does hold, then that's something we can start to look and say, hey, the bottom side of this held. Now let's see if we can start to look towards the top side of the range and push to the upside if the news is really nothing. Now, if we do now continuation to the downside, and let's say come futures we do start to flush, we want to make sure that if this doesn't sweep the lows, that we do get the continuation to the downside, then we start to open up the next range that we've seen back in November of 2025 and October of 2025. But those are the two basically overall ranges that I'm going to be keeping an eye on when the market does open, due to the fact because of the news what happened in Iran, and just basically see if we do potentially bounce from this range to touch the top side of the range, or if we do continue to the downside. Now, with ES and NQ, they have been differentiating from each other and moving differently. As you can see with ES, we're literally sitting in the top side of this range, whereas NQ is now trading already in its bottom half of the range. So something I marked out was that, it trading from top side broke under after the earnings of NVIDIA on the top, and then trading Thursday morning, basically trading back under. Let's see if we do potentially get a gap down when it comes to the Iran news. Let's see if we start to test this bottom half of the range, which then allows for ES to push to the bottom half of the range as well. And we get a possible touch of this 2400. Now, if the news was all clear and Iran issues are all away from us, then the market should potentially, hopefully, gap up with a possible idea of a regime change in Iran. And let's see if we can start to clear this and move to the top side of this range. So get something, if we do gap down, just test the bottom of the range at 2400. If we do potentially gap up, then let's see if we can get over 25 and then clear Wednesday's high and start to test the top side of the range. So that's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on this coming week. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that, you know, at the end of the day, even after all of the news that we got these past couple weeks, when it comes to NVIDIA earnings, Apple earnings, you know, serious issues politically, you know, now with the Iran news, at the end of the day, we're just trading in a range. The market's not basically had no serious correction as of yet. So all I can just say is make sure to trade safe and just trade the ranges at the end of the day, you know, making sure to always keep an eye on these basically support and resistance lines, because we're really going nowhere at the end of the day. Next, we're going to look at is Bitcoin. So like I said, right during this, basically right when on Saturday, when the news came out, Bitcoin came down all the way down to 63. Then the news came out that we killed the supreme leader, which then it bounced and we test a high of 68. And now we're sitting at that 67,000 range. So basically looking at this, we're just sitting in the range that we've been sitting in from 71 all the way down to 60 and just been trading sideways ever since. So we need to pay attention to making sure that once we do maybe possibly clear this, you know, just continue to play the ranges. So we're not bullish until we get over 75. We're not completely bearish until we get under 60. So at the moment, we're just basically just playing levels and making sure that we just basically don't make any serious decisions as of yet, as the market doesn't know exactly where it wants to go. Now, at the end of every video, when I explain the market and how my thoughts are going into the next coming weeks, I always like to give 3 potential trade ideas I'll be paying attention to this coming week. So the first one that I always like to trade so far is Starbucks. Starbucks had a nice move to the upside, testing my level on Thursday and rejected it once again. You know, so this was a very nice short idea to the downside. We're coming back up. I do, you know, once you have too many touches of this level, sooner or later this will break. So as of right now, until this level breaks, I'm going to continue to short at this $100 level. So as we push up, if we do potentially get a gap up on Monday, I'm going to keep an eye on this $100 level for a potential short idea, continuing to target the downside move to the bottom of the range at $90. So this is the first one. The next one I'm looking at is Netflix. Netflix this past week had crazy news regarding them not getting the partnership with Warner Brothers, as Paramount will be the one to be taking over that deal. The agreement was made, and basically Netflix will be getting a free $2 to $3 billion for just not taking the deal, as they only had a verbal agreement. So that's free $3 billion for doing absolutely nothing. So that one increases their balance sheet, but also two, the market loves that information. So fundamentally, this helped the stock push up close to 13% on Friday. So if you zoom out a bit, if this wants to continue higher, look at that weekly candle, 13% move. We basically cleared this major resistance roughly at 95. If we do want this to continue, I do want to make sure this 95 level holds and potentially get a test of this level and then start to move back to the upside roughly at 106. Now, if this Iranian news did become bad and the whole market does gap down, then I'll be keeping an eye on this level as a potential short if we do get back under this 95, 94, to then potentially target back down to this $82 range. Now, this doesn't mean that the company is bearish, but at the end of the day, you just basically look at this as just a higher low. As you can clearly see that this right here is a lower low. Oh man, sorry about that. This right here, let's get this. This right here is just basically lower low. Lower low. Let me put this smaller. So lower low, and then you're gonna have, if it comes down to test this level, just a higher low. So just basically what I'm gonna keep an eye on is, does this want to continue higher with the news of them not acquiring Warner Brothers, or does this want to possibly retest this, basically this range roughly around 82 to 85, and then make a new higher high? So this is something I'm going to be keeping on my watch list as for a potential move to the upside or downside. The next one I'm looking at is AMD. AMD has been basically stuck in this range right here, roughly between 220 to 200, with the recent news of NVIDIA coming down. If NVIDIA does want to continue to the downside, I think AMD correlates as a stock to basically flow the same as NVIDIA. As you can see, this weekly candle was coming up to that 220, completely rejected, and now trading back under 200. We still have this gap up, or this gap below, what's it called, at 172 from back the original earnings in September of 2025. I think that overall this does need to get filled sooner or later. So if we do get a rejection of this 200 and possibly a gap down, I want to see this 190 get broken for a complete gap fill down to 170. If this happens, then overall market is going to be coming to the downside, as AMD is one of the top names, but also it correlates with NVIDIA as well. So if this is getting filled, there's a good chance NVIDIA is going to be coming down as well. And something to keep an eye on when it comes to NVIDIA is this potential channel being broken. So I removed this channel. If it was, so the original channel was to the upside roughly around this 195, 194 area, which then it now is broken to the downside. Now we're entering a new channel that has been basically, that was formed before. If we do break this 173, 172 area, we could possibly see this 150, 155 area. As you clearly see, there's only one little support at 165, but other than that, there's really nothing stopping this to come down back to 150. So those are some very, very big things to keep an eye on, because seeing NVIDIA come down to 150, seeing AMD come down to 170, and other big names being basically rejecting very key support lines, that is a very bad signal that the market could be taking a step away from the Mag 7 and possibly moving into more staple names, as a potential war or something is being formed at the moment in the Middle East. So it's something to basically keep an eye on and just trade safe, because we don't have any type of clear indication on where the market is actually going. So that is basically it in the information I have on this weekly outlook. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions or concerns regarding anything, leave a comment down below and let me know. I'm more than welcome to answer those questions. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great trading week. Trade safe and trade smart. And let's make sure to secure that bag, because we do not know exactly where this is going. So I hope you guys have a great day, a great rest of your weekend, and let's go get this money. Take it easy.